maternity leave, did it affect your career progression?
Excellent question. And I would say, so I've had two maternity leaves. I'd say each of them were unique. Each experience felt quite different for me. And so when I had my first son, um, I didn't want to come back. I was like, oh no, I need to be a mother. I need to stay home. I need to find some type of work where I can be at home. And so, you know, you have to come back to work because I'm not a millionaire. And so I did that. And coming back that first time was very overwhelming. A lot of pressure as a mother to be at home, to provide for my son, sending him off. And for the parents in the room, the first day you leave your child with other people, you leave and you cry your whole way to work, and it's very overwhelming, and you come in and then you turn it on here. The second time, I had a different perspective on life, and so I was ready to come back, and I knew that I wanted to, I was ambitious already, I was self-motivated. I came from a family where my father was actually the person that stayed at home, and my mother was a working individual for the entirety of my childhood. So I had already kind of seen that and was motivated to be a strong woman like she was and provide for her family. So I came back with a new perspective on life and wanted to provide for both of my children. Coming back, you kind of have to reprove yourself. And so I found that even more the second time. And I'd say that that's likely because the first time I was coming back as an advisor, the first time I was coming back as an advisor, the second time I was coming back into a position of leadership. And so more eyes are on you at that point. So I felt I had to prove myself. I had to step into a table where there were new people sitting at the table, and the new people, there was 3 new males that sat there. And so I really felt that sense of, I need to show that I am worthy of sitting at this table as well. And sometimes that can be very difficult to do. So yeah, I would say different challenges for sure. Either way, working or being at home, you do have pressures, and you know, to be great at both, it's difficult to do both well at the same time
And
Go ahead.
yeah, the next question goes to Crystal. As recently promoted people manager, would you please tell us about your career progression and what were your barriers and challenges you encountered?
Ooh, that's loaded. Okay, so as I stated before, I've been with the company for about 4 years. Within the 4-year span, I've had about 5 roles, 3 official, 3 unofficial. And my journey, I would say that I had a pretty smooth journey. I had support along the way. I can speak for myself, not other women. Coming to TD, there wasn't any external factors that affected my career growth. It was more so personal factors affecting me. And one of those things would be staying motivated. There were times when I applied for other positions and I was not a successful candidate. But instead of moping about it, I actually sought feedback. So that was something that I do constantly, and I kept growing and I kept moving, implemented those feedback that I got into applying new roles. However, something that I did as well too, instead of always looking for the next best thing, I always search for opportunities within the role that I am to continue to grow. I seek for opportunities. So I can share an example. So not too long ago, I was an advisor. And being an advisor, there were certain things that I asked my manager to do, like I took initiative, send out team emails, I asked to be a peer coach, which was granted, a TTO, which was granted. And at that point, I was not thinking of becoming a TM. At that said point, I was not thinking of becoming a TM because I was maximizing all the opportunities that were handed to me. And not only that, in doing so, I got in front of great people that saw that I had huge potential, hence the reason why I'm here now. So I would say whatever challenges that you're facing is to take whatever it is, run with it, but try as much as possible to stay motivated. And any role that you're in, seek to like optimize, maximize whatever you have there rather than, putting your eggs in so many baskets. And that's my advice.
we're supposed to follow that. So the next question is open for the whole panel. So what are your thoughts about the preconceived notion that men acquire leadership roles easier than women?
Okay, I'll start, just because I had a conversation recently with somebody about this, and I think that some of it starts with, and you guys can tag on, but some of it starts with how we feel internally. So for me, when I look at a role, I automatically go to what I can't do and what I have to achieve before I can apply for a role. And there are statistics that show that men will look for the things that they do and go for that. So I'd say that that would be I own some of that as well.
It's not preconceived if it's true. I think that's what would be my point to that question. I think we do have opportunity. I know we have opportunity to do better from an equality standpoint. So, yeah, I think that would be what I was.
I was leaning in the same way as Terry. Like, I think preconceived might be when it's not, when you're guessing. I don't think we're guessing. We have stats that show men have more leadership positions. I think TDI and TD in general have done a great job of improving that over the years, but still lots of work to do. We wouldn't be having the discussion otherwise. That's why I say it's kind of embarrassing to be asked as a white straight male, like I have all the advantages, and that's why we have to have the discussions, frankly.
Well, I mean, we're still learning from your experience, and even though we might not be the same gender or the same race, like I'm still learning from all of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. So next question goes to Terry. What are your thoughts about unconscious biases that impact women in leadership or in pursuing leadership roles?
Right. So unconscious bias, I mean, I guess it's a kind of a tricky question, because if I wasn't aware of it, then it would be conscious, and then it would be much more of an issue. I did some research on this, and there were some studies done from about 200,000 people, and about 75% of them indicated that there was a bias one way or the other to men or women. And it wasn't just men that were polled, it was men and women. And 75% believed that men typically should be involved in careers, and 75% believe that women belonged at home, so to speak. So unconscious bias, whether we choose to admit it or not, is actually something that we're all doing unconsciously. So I'm hoping that I can share some of that information with you today to help us realize the opportunity we have. Some of the other things that was a real eye-opener was that, like, for instance, we do a lot of hiring here, and how we sit at the table with an interviewee, unconsciously, how we make eye contact or lack thereof, if we're leaning forward or if we're leaning back, it actually impacts the person that you're sitting in front of as well. So if you're not aware of that, you cannot get the best interview from someone, for instance. And to Josh's point earlier, for every 130 men that are promoted to a leadership, only 100 women are. So there's definitely work to be done, and there's definitely unconscious bias.
I might just tag on as well. I know you didn't ask all of us, but I have a woman boss named Rosie. Most of you met her. She's been here recently. Rosie has been described by other people in the organization as having quote-unquote sharp elbows, which I think is part of the bias, like the gender disadvantage maybe. Like, I think if a male acts and behaves in the same way that Rosie does, they don't get the same sharp elbow commentary. But Rosie acts that way, and she's considered sharp elbows. So what could be perceived as a strength for men can sometimes be perceived as a disadvantage or a weakness in women. So I think that's one of the biases that women might struggle with. I also have lots of female colleagues that sort of just anecdotally, like, we'll be chatting and they'll be like, oh, I had to go into a meeting this week in a boardroom and I was the only woman. And like how that puts them off and how they're nervous, and they're like, they were challenged to find a way to get their voice out in the conversation and be heard, where I think, I don't know, Terry, how you feel, but I know for myself, I go into a meeting, I don't even notice who's around me, or if I'm the only male, maybe it's a room full, I wouldn't even think of it. But I think that's an advantage, that we don't have to go into a room and think about that, or that just, it doesn't even occur to us, where for women, they might have to, or it might actually occur to them, and then become a disadvantage to them in how, you know, how well they perform in the meeting, for example.
Well, thank you so much. That's a great setup of theories you shared.